this particular platform that we're on,
Yes.
it doesn't tell me if we have viewers on or not.
Okay.
So usually when viewers start coming on, I'll start asking them, hey, write something in the comments so I know you're there.
All right.
So, because one time we went like 7 minutes and we didn't even know anybody was on there. And it was like a lot of people watching and we had no idea. So, yeah.
All right. Well, that's fabulous.
Yeah,
So how have you been?
pretty good. Pretty good. So if we have any viewers, go ahead and write in the comments, please, so we know you're on here.
And where you are, because I'm in California, how is your weather going right now?
Warm,
Warm.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, so I don't want to get started before I know people are on here.
That's fine.
It takes a few minutes sometimes for people to come on. So if anybody's on, go ahead and say hello. Usually, there's a board member of our nonprofit that comes on usually every time. So I'm sure he'll be here soon, and he's usually the one that says hi first. So,
Oh, perfect.
yeah. So it's nice
Perfect.
to have him on board usually.
So Jenny, I didn't know after the live, is it then posted, is then it able to are people able to rewatch the discussion?
Oh yes, yeah. It posts on YouTube and LinkedIn.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's where most of our audience comes from is LinkedIn. So
Very interesting. That's
yeah.
fabulous. So I find that very interesting since the community you're serving, we had a discussion in a professional group last night of it's really LinkedIn is for business to
Oh,
business, not business to interested individual, right? So you're saying the people that are watching, mainly are individuals that have information on LinkedIn.
yes. Well, we got a lot of my followers on there are Christians, and I post a lot of Christian material. Um, so we got a lot of that, and also friends from my community as well. So I think a few of those people are going to be on here as well. So maybe they might even be watching right now, but like I said, this platform doesn't. It just says 0 viewers up top, but one time we had 89 viewers, and it said 0. So I was like, so I don't.
So
I never
come
know.
on, people! If you're on, come on. Let's hear where you are.
Yeah. So comment, people, if you're on here, okay? I probably shouldn't call people. It's kind of rude. All right. So I guess we'll get started because I don't see anybody writing right now, but hopefully some people will come on and ask some questions and we can put some stuff up in the bar and talk about that as well, because that's usually what we do. So, all right. I'm gonna get my little outline here for you. Okay, so just to introduce everybody to you.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Janet. Janet Price is a divorce, co-parenting, and is it relationship coach? No, not relationship. Maybe partly.
I really divorce, parenting, co-parenting, and life transition. And it's in the life transition where to be honest about the relationship stuff, a lot of it comes in my divorce coaching and also in the life transition coaching. And I don't focus on supporting people that are struggling with their relationship. They tend to find me though.
Right, because yeah, absolutely. Because separation, divorce, stuff like that, that's kind of, something that it kind of entangles all together,
It
really.
does. It really
Yeah,
does.
yeah. So, yeah, so I guess we can talk a little bit about our conversation that we had. Was it last spring? I
Gosh,
think
Jenny, I
maybe
think you and I met maybe last spring, and then we maybe
early
met
summer.
in the summertime.
Yeah,
And
maybe early
yeah,
summer. Yeah. So, um, at that time, I was going through my own separation in my marriage. So, um, and I didn't even put it together. I was just putting together Child and Teen Wellness, which was the beginning of It's a New World.org, which we have now. And I was putting that together for parents and children and anything that could help children's lives. And that's where I ran across you. Um, so, and when you started talking, all these light bulbs started going off in my head. Like, oh my gosh, because my parents were divorced. Um, not only divorced from each other, but divorced from two other marriages as well. So I saw a lot of divorce in my childhood and lifetime. So, um, yeah, so it kind of put some light bulbs off, and then you sent me this PDF for people to have on our website, and I read through it. I'm like, holy cow, I could use this right now. But you know, Jesus puts things in our lives when we need them the most, honestly. And it's not just one thing that he puts in our lives. He'll put multiple things in our lives that keep us on the path or put us on the path that we're supposed to be on in life. And this was one of the tools that he put in my life that helped along with prayer, reading the Bible, and taking care of myself and putting God first before I put my husband first, which is what I did a lot of the times before this. I put my husband before I put God. And that's not how it's supposed to be. And a lot of the Christians that are watching right now know that. They're like, no, you don't put your husband first. God's always first. Because there's this saying in Ecclesiastes, which is, it might be Proverbs, I might be wrong, but a cord of three is not easily broken, which means three strands in a rope, all knotted together, is very strong. So those three strands consist of Jesus, the husband, and the wife. Okay. So that's why we always put Jesus first. And I wasn't doing that. And that was causing a lot of problems in our marriage. I was putting all the pressure on my husband for the things that I needed to lay at Jesus's feet. I was putting at my husband's feet, which was a lot of pressure for him. Too much pressure. So, and the taming the pain thing during the separation was what I needed to remember that a lot of the times, because like you say in your PDF, you talk about putting other things first, putting things in your life that are going to kind of take away your attention and focus on the separation to other things in your life.
mhm.
So that's why it helped so much. Yeah,
I am
yeah.
so glad, and you shared with me that story way afterwards, and I had no idea, so it was really helpful. I firmly believe that if we are open to what is being gifted to us and we feel it and we see it, there are always little kernels that are placed in our way to help guide us with the right path.
Yes.
It's actually my why was a stream of those things. So now my passion, my life's work really is ending the generational trauma and pain. So you just described your parents and and that almost rippled into your own marriage and then
Yes.
the children. And so that's the
Mhm.
generational trauma that happens for children in divorce. And unconsciously, we don't even know what's happening. And so
Right.
really my life purpose is to help at the point when parents are thinking that that's what is going to be best for their families, to live in two separate households, help them become more conscious and aware so that the children do not experience the same generational trauma that they experienced. And
And end up
in
going
that
overboard
space,
themselves. Yeah.
divorce itself does not cause trauma for children. What
Mhm.
causes trauma for children is conflict. And so if both parents, there's very different levels of co-parenting, but at the bare minimum, if both parents are providing loving, supporting environments in their households and their rules are all different or anything's different, the children and there is no conflict, the children will learn to grow and have confidence within and will be okay. It's not the
Yeah.
trauma, it's the conflict between the parents and getting sucked into the middle. That is the problem.
Yes, and there was high conflict because my father was unable to regulate his emotions. He wasn't, he reacted. He didn't respond, he would react. And and he was either angry or very happy all the
Right.
time. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly. So, which caused a lot of conflict in life, and well, not just in divorce, but in life too.
In
So,
life.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, God works through those things for me. He's worked through those things throughout a variety of things in my life. But it's taken a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of prayer and a lot of reading the Bible and to get to a place where there's not so much damage anymore. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Internally, within, you're not talking about the partnership, right? You're talking about your own injury,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So that's why it's so important, I think, for children, and I want the viewers to know what it can do to the children and what kind of problems conflict can cause. Yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, one of the first things in any relation, and this applies across the board to your relationships that are tight relationships, even closest friends where you start feeling frustrated and you're concerned about that, any relationship. Let's be just real clear. We can't force somebody to change who they are. And some of
Yeah.
that conflict, right? Some of that conflict or the resentment or the frustration starts coming because we believe everything would be perfect if they did X, Y, and Z, right?
Right,
That's really
exactly. Yeah.
right, and that's where all this confusion comes in, and just so those people that do find me within, that are struggling in their relationship, that's sort of, I'm unsatisfied. I'm not getting this. They are doing this. There is nothing. So I start out by saying, how are you making yourself happy? What are you doing for yourself? Because you can only focus on you. There's nothing you can do about them. Now, the beautiful thing, and I've seen it personally in my life, and I don't know if you've seen this in your life. I've seen it happen time and time and time again. When I am going through a rocky period, I, I've had 5 restarts financially, relationship in my life, like
Right.
major life transitions. And
Mhm.
so every transition, what I have found is that I have first taken the time to settle myself and actually ask myself a bunch of questions like, okay, we're kind of at a problem, ground zero. Now, what are we going to do?
Yeah, yeah.
And when I find that North Star or whatever it's going to be, and then I focus on that, I have a shift for myself. No longer in a place of upset. Feel at peace. I feel confident. And everyone around me, it doesn't matter if I go to the grocery store, the gas station, my husband, wherever it is, they will all notice. And guess what? They shift too. So I
With
didn't
you.
ask anybody to shift. It's me changing, and they see it and they act differently. And that's the beauty of the really getting centered for yourself.
Yes, and honestly, I want to kind of put this in a relational, for my viewers kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's where meditating upon the Bible, Proverbs, Psalms, that kind of thing, Ecclesiastes, um, those books are really good for focusing and meditating upon those things, and prayer and stuff like that. Just having that connection and having that meditation and actually listening and paying attention, because how we speak to God is through prayer, and how we hear God is through reading his word. And so reading those books in those times of need are going to be very, very helpful as well. Just like you said, you center yourself, or stuff like that. We call it meditating upon the word. But so I just kind of want to mention that for people so that they can kind of put that in a certain context for them that they need.
Oh, no, I think it's absolutely fabulous.
Yeah.
I am not affiliated with a particular religion, but my
Okay.
centering includes, um, speaking to God before I go to bed and first thing in the morning, for me personally.
Right.
And so, yes.
That's good. That's good. So that's speaking to God, and as that's how I used to do things too, until I realized that how God speaks back is through the Bible. But because I would talk to him, but I wasn't listening. You
Mhm.
see? So it's just like a conversation between you and somebody else. You also have to hear them, right? So that's where I kind of had an epiphany a few years back. Like, how am I going to hear God?
Fabulous.
And it was through his word, because he'll speak to me through certain scripture. Yeah. And about certain subjects that I'm really struggling with at the time. So, all right. So now, um, so I just want to say that, my marriage isn't perfect still, but we are working on it, and we have really great moments. We have some, iffy moments, but it's still there. So, as long as I keep following God and following Jesus, then we'll make it and put Jesus first. So,
Well, that's the funny thing in any interpersonal relationships. The female, and way that the female perspective and the male perspective come at an environment are so very different. And I will use, so I'm remarried. And I learned this really truly in my space before I married my second husband.
Mhm.
What was going on in my first relationship is I wasn't feeling loved, right? And I thought that was his job to make me feel
Yes.
loved, right? And
Right.
so then I started doing this little bit of thing, right? And so then I would take signs based on that silly thing in my head that was saying that to validate my feeling of not feeling loved, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So, in other words, he was working. And so this had to do with, we were a young family. I went from a career professional, both of us being career, to when my first son was born, quitting overnight, becoming a stay-at-home mom with no income, which was the first thing for me, no income of my own, which had never happened since I
Right.
was 14 years old. So
Mhm.
I sort of became in this new world where I was less self-reliant than I was accustomed to my entire life up until that point.
Right.
And so that's where some of this came in. And then you're with two very little ones, but at that time there was like 3 and 1. Oh, and guess what? I decided to only speak Spanish, my non-native language, in the household so that my children would learn Spanish as their first language in this world. So I took the action to really change my life overnight, and then felt like, whew, this is hard.
Resentment. Resentment.
And so that's where all these feelings came, right? And so I had this, this is hard. Maybe I'm not so happy. Why am I not receiving the love or the thankful for all the things I'm doing for our family and our new children, right? So then I started
Mm.
looking for things. So he would come home and tell me about how his assistant got him all these candy bars, and I didn't even know that that was his favorite candy bar. So I started making stuff up in my head. Like, how come she knows more than me? Not a fair or anything, but I
Right.
started creating this environment that, well, he doesn't even know me and I don't even
Unhealthy.
know him. So how can he? So I give that as an example to say, in that moment when I was sitting in this space with all this emotions, that was my stuff. It was not his stuff.
Right.
Meanwhile, years later, I learned he was 100% content and happy and felt that life was great. So men and women perceive why every time I wanted to have a conversation, I wanted to get into the meat. I wanted to like really dig it apart and feel it and have these conversations. And he'd have this,
Uh-huh.
that's like at 9
Yeah.
o'clock at
All
night,
women are like
worked
that.
all day, right? So that's gonna be a dynamic in any relationship that
Yes.
women, the mind thought, it tends to be that men and women come at things very differently. So what
Mhm.
makes, in general, what it makes a man feel more complete? Well, that he's in a nurturing environment, the house, everything's stable, right? Everything's
Yes.
there and set, right?
Mhm.
And what makes a woman like want to, so when you talk about you're still, it's rocky and all that, that is something I'm, as a lens that I'm bringing back. No, that in order to kind of relate on these levels, taking a step back and just looking at the other person to see how they're showing up, if they seem happy on their own, then maybe it is all good. And
Yeah.
you or yourself are creating something all
Let it
on
go.
your own,
Just let it go,
is
Jenny, right?
which is, hey, you're creating something on your own. Time to
Mm.
go make yourself feel good. Time to go find out how to feel satisfied and enough. You are enough,
Mm.
right?
Yes. Yes. And that's why I'm doing this right now, because this is my passion, is like children and their lives being better and their parents. Take care of the parents, the children will be better, right? So that's why, I still continue with what I'm doing, and I'm trying to do it full time and all that good stuff. So that keeps me busy and it keeps me happy. It keeps me happy. So, and having board meetings and meeting with my board on a regular basis and stuff like that. So, yeah, yeah, it's something that really makes me happy, and it keeps my mind occupied. Like you said, we have
Right.
to, have our own thing. Yeah, we really, really do.
Well, and then on communication, because this is a tool, this is something that I work with, anybody, but some when a couple has decided that divorce will be part of their life
Mhm.
story, if you imagine, if you were rocky in your communication within the marriage, it's
Okay.
gonna just become tremendously more difficult once you're not committed in that relationship, right? But these
Oh,
tools work, and the communications become more difficult, but these tools work no matter where you are. So one of the things I said is help people with is when to begin communicating using I statements instead of you did this, you make me this. You
blaming.
instead turn it around if you're communicating and use words like I feel sad when XYZ don't happen, when you don't call if you're going to be late, right? Like that's labeling your feelings about something, but you're not telling them to do something. You're informing them. That is much
Mhm.
easier to digest than why don't you ever call me when you're going to be late? Can't you just, right? As in this simple little
Right.
thing, I'm
Yeah,
giving
yeah,
examples
yeah.
like, why can't you even pick up the phone to call me? It's okay
So,
that you're late, right?
yes. So I have a question for you,
Yeah.
personally. Um,
Yes.
so in the Bible, it says for men not to be so harsh with their wives. Men are not to be harsh with their wives. So I always want to say you're being harsh. So what is a better way to say something like that?
Right. So, and this is perfect. Thank you for turning it around and thinking about you. So you could say, you're saying a words just came at you right then and there, right?
Yeah,
So you could say, dear, or whatever you call him,
yeah.
when I hear those words, I feel small, hurt, sad, unappreciated, whatever those feelings are, label them.
Okay,
I feel this way.
okay.
And you can just leave it there. If he responds and says, "Well, I didn't mean that." I know you didn't mean that. Then you can say, maybe it's my childhood. You can go, it's just how I feel. I'm working on how I feel. What would make me feel okay when you want to express certain words is if you expressed it this way. So then you can give examples that way, but it's still focused on you. How you would receive the information is kind of what you're serving up. I would hear what you're trying to tell me if if you communicated it in this manner, right? So it's not telling him, it's actually
Informing.
inviting him to think about it in a different way and giving and teaching him slightly different ways to communicate so that you can hear. I mean, there's always this thing if your partner, anybody who's listening, depending on how engaged or interested your partner is in leveling up communication, there's things.
Excuse me.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I've had a cough for like a week and it's starting to. I did
Come
some
back.
lime. I did some lime
Yeah.
and honey before this, but the lime and honey is wearing off. Yeah, yeah.
You can start to speak to your partner about, I'm very interested in really understanding where you're coming from. I'm
Mhm.
hearing words from you right now. My own body can't receive those words because I have my own kind of wall that's not allowing it to come in, but
Mhm.
I really do want to hear what you have to say. Could you think of another way to communicate that to me? That's another way to do that. But think of it this way. I mean, childhood, I don't know how long it's been since somebody's played the telephone game. I mean, it happens in the office environment, the water
Oh,
cooler.
yeah, yeah.
There is not a single person. You could have two people that are best of friends. It does not matter. No one person is going to, and they're all physically present. No one person will actually share exactly the same thing and why is that? It's because I'm a different learner than you, Jenny. I may
Oh,
learn how I digest and receive information is unique to me and only to me. So whatever comes, we visually may not even pay attention to the same things that are happening right in front of us. So how can we retell a story or process the information in our brain if when we are absorbing our world from our environment, we absorb it completely different than I absorb it completely different from you.
right. Exactly, exactly. Yeah, it's very
So
different.
that would
By
be
the
a
end of the
way.
telephone game, there's a whole totally different sentence comes out. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
if anybody's on, I'm not sure if anybody's, wants to write a question in the comments, then you're more than welcome. I don't see any comments coming on, but
So
usually
that
it's men. I usually have a lot of men viewers on here.
Oh, that would have been
Yeah,
really interesting. That would be great
yeah,
to hear
yeah.
because I'd love to hear those comments. I mean, really, that's the biggest. If you, um, that I this I that that's getting in touch with your feelings, which historically men, boys haven't observed. Now we're talking to children in general. Historically in our country, it has
Mhm.
not been something that has been a part of how we raise boys. We don't help
Um,
boys think
no,
about and identify feelings, the range of feelings, right? This is changing a ton, but historically we haven't
in the
helped
past,
our men,
men.
boys learn those skills. So it's unique when we find, really it's unique when we are communicating with men that are interested in digging in, like I described about the unpacking everything of an onion. That's what women want to do because they're more used to. I mean, gosh, look at socially how it all works. I mean,
Mm,
from day one, mostly women are helping socially raise a family together in groups, right? And sort of are
yes.
always with a group, learning how to interpersonal and men were sort of out there helping bring the food back. I mean, really, if you think about it.
Right, and that's how it is in the Bible too. That's how the family
Right.
dynamics are supposed to be in the Bible, and that's how that's what my husband does,
Right,
So,
and so there's a
yeah,
different communication when you're bringing home the bacon. It's not emotional touchy-feely, is it?
no, not at all. Not even close.
And the household is where all that touchy-feely stuff comes. So
Yeah.
now we're trying to ask somebody who actually has very little time practicing it and very little time not only practicing it, but actually living it in the waking hours. And we're
Mhm.
now asking them to come down to our level and please just be touchy. So, there's that side of it.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's kind of a thing too on a Christian level. As a Christian woman, I don't like saying this might be men watching, but we kind of want to be that secret garden of a man's, as a Christian woman, we want to be that, um, that hidden garden of his, so that no one else has, kind of thing, the secret garden kind of that deal. Um, and we want to be that submissive, soft-spoken wife, honestly. Yeah. And I think it works well on a certain level, but you're right, men are not, they don't love like women do. They love in a different way. And that's where God needs to come in for us women. Us women, we need to put God first, because we can't put it all on our husbands, because it's just not how they love. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I learned, again, in that pause space,
Mhm.
one of the books that was very useful for me was The Five Love Languages.
Yes.
And
My preacher talks about that all the time. The five love languages.
the reason I love that book is because it's not about, it teaches you as much about yourself. And if you dive into it just for yourself and start watching how you react to anyone you meet, and then kind
Yes.
of look at it and say, huh, I had sort of so someone that you meet in a coffee shop, you have a dynamic with them. You start talking to them just a little bit and you have a dynamic, but you walk away and say, huh, that person wasn't my favorite. Like, I don't think that they rub me the right way, or something like that, right? Then if you
Okay.
took a
Yeah, like
step
personality
back,
conflict kind of deal. That's
right?
what I
Not
call
conflicts, but
personality.
if they just basically, you are, and it's not that you ever met them before, but it's like your initial gut instinct that says, huh, because I've had that before where I've just walked away and gone, yeah, I'm not sure I like that person very much, But
Yeah.
then I used it, and then I looked at love language, all the other training, but I used it and I went, oh, you know why? Because we were completely going like this in how we communicate. So we were complete, like, how I want to meet somebody new is to, if they sit and you chat, I want to like sit down, lean in, tell me. I want them to share lots of details. And if
Yeah.
they're snippy and looking at their phone and all this stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, no, I'm not interested, because they're distracted,
They're
right?
not
So
interested either. Yeah.
right, but that's my stuff.
Yeah.
That's me. Doesn't mean that's who they are. It's because my love language is being heard and seen and deep connection.
Oh, yeah.
Why am I a coach? Why am I a coach? I mean, right.
Right, because you like to be entangled with somebody as well. Yeah, I understand. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think there was when where I can't remember them all the five, but yeah, I remember him preaching a sermon, my pastor preaching a sermon. Part of it had to do with the five love languages, and he was talking about what his wife needed and what he needed, and they needed totally different things, and we're supposed to
Completely.
love people in the way they need to be loved, and not in the way we need to love them. Is
Exactly.
is how he said
So
it.
in
Yeah.
in my marriage now, when I figured out my husband's love language, it was so helpful, because there's other things that, there's always going to be things in dynamics that you don't see things in the same way, and you don't get on the same page. So what helped me was when I finally saw, in his love language is gifts, not
My
extravagant.
husband is too. He loves gifts.
It's not extravagant. It's
He's
not
like a
any.
Pepsi.
So I
Yeah.
think people, when I've told some people this, they look at me, particularly the women, they look at me like crazy. But
It's
when
true
I was
though.
able to see this, I would see little nuggets of this. So, for a while, my husband was eating cereal late at night, just to go to. I was already asleep, and he, for whatever reason, he would have cereal, and if the box was empty, he would leave it like right in front of the trash can, but not in the trash can. And I finally realized when I realized gifts that that was his little thing because he was trying to show me like it just there's all these little things. So when we're in a fight,
Uh-huh.
he tells me he's ready to communicate when he brings me a Starbucks. He doesn't ever use the word, but when he always brings me Starbucks coffee. When he stops, I know
Oh,
he's very angry. And
uh-huh.
when he begins again, I know that he's open for a conversation so that we can engage. So do you see that tool? Like it's a silent message that's never said.
My
And
husband
once
does
I
that with
get that, then
tea.
I know that evening we can sit down in a soft way and have a conversation.
Oh, okay. My husband does that with tea. If he doesn't make me tea in the morning, I know he's upset with me.
Well, there you go.
I know for a fact. Yeah, yeah. So, all right. Well, I'm surprised we didn't have any questions, honestly, but it might be because you do a really good job and you answered quite a few questions. Uh, but hopefully, we'll have a good response on LinkedIn and YouTube. And I already put up your links and everything. Um, you wanted to talk about January.
I really did before we got off. Yes, please.
Yes.
So because I mean the tools and the conversations that we were having apply to everyone.
Mhm.
And so absolutely, and it's some of the things that I do in my one-on-one coaching, and it's also some of the things I do in some of my group coaching programs that are for co-parents, beginning or after the divorce. However, it's if you all, and I know that this isn't a place, but if in your heart you're processing through um, the idea, and you may end up coming to the conclusion that for your family dynamic, divorce is going to be the best option for your family. Um,
Mhm.
I'd like to really put it to the attention that January is officially the month of International Child-Centered Divorce Month. And that has been, it's on the calendar that has all the special holidays, that are there. And the reason this has come to light is exactly, Jenny, why you're in what you're doing and serving what you're
Yeah,
doing is because
seven children.
for the children, divorce does not have to be, and the children can be 100% happy and fine if the parents on their own, for no other reason, are able to support their children in both those households and not pull the children into the middle and not have conflict, then the children will be fine. And
Yeah.
so understanding when it's child-centered divorce doesn't mean asking your child, what do you want, at all, or engaging your children into the divorce. Child-centered divorce
Right.
means you understand how children experience life as a divorced child. And so you are mindful of their experience at every step of the way. And so part of International Child-Centered Divorce Month is that the woman, Rosalind Sadaka, for the last 16 years has worked very hard to make sure that it's continued to be recognized. And she has a website page that's only open in the month of in the month of January, that has professionals that offer up freebies, books and gifts and and videos, all free,
Okay.
for anybody who is a parent walking through divorce. So I really wanted people, if this is some place that you may be in, the website is www.divorced with a D, so DIVORCED, parentsupport.com. So www.divorcedparentsupport.com. You can go there, you put your email, and then it'll take you to this whole web page that has all these free gifts inside. And it's a great way to know because
resources.
This is not easy. If you are a parent, you can, no matter what happens, you need a tribe to support you. It is not as if you sign a piece of paper and you are all of a sudden a co-parent, but it's a brand new skill and nobody knows how to do it. And so I encourage you to find a tribe of people who do know how to do it, who are separate from your family so they don't have their own emotions, and so that they can look from an outsider's standpoint. I mean, priest is a very important, and not always is it the two people have to be together. Again, I work exclusively in helping parents focus on themselves, of what they can do. I actually don't do programs where the two are in together. If they both want to work with me, they work independently, and I don't focus about they, them. I focus on
Each
you
person.
and what you can do.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I have put up these links already, but I'm going to put them up again with this video just to have them so that people can find them easily. So they have been put up and they will be put up again as well.
Perfect.
And I want to let everybody know that January is, I think you said, is the highest divorce month.
So the reason Rosalind decided to even focus on reframing what the facts and figures actually say is there are the most divorce filings in the month of January of any month throughout the year. It does not matter. It just is like this gigantic rush of divorce
Do you think
filings.
it's because of the stress of holidays in December? I was like, I wonder if it's just from stress, because a lot, there's so much money issues in December, and because Christmas has been so over commercialized, that kind of thing, and just so much pressure. So I wonder if there's a correlation there.
Well, specific. So there's another statistic that is most of the time women have been, I mean, you're an example, women have been thinking about dissatisfaction for quite a while. And this is another way, and processing through their emotions. And that's the time, if you're there, that's the time to get the support to help you really find ways to continue to try again and again within your marriage. Because I'm also going to tell you, the grass is never greener on the other side. There are very few
search. Deal with the same issues with the next person.
Yeah, outside of true, really physically emotional abuse type situations, that really getting to the place where you feel 100% good with yourself and you've exhausted all options and you still don't see anything, that would be the time. But back to the statistics. So to your question, Jenny, what I hear most often actually is, because it's been contemplated for a long time, they're just making it through the holidays, whether it's been communicated with the other parent or not. Now I'm talking about parents. It's let's get through this holiday season. We don't want to break up our family now because of the holidays.
Okay.
And so that's the buildup. There could be last straw reactive things that happen with that, which hopefully those people are encouraged by whomever they go to wait, pause, put on the brakes, go try over here, so I think that is why that is. And so Rosalind saw that and really wanted to reframe. If that was the factual thing was happening, let's put the focus on, as you are going to be divorcing, let's let's make sure that we understand how children experience living in two households and educate parents on how they can prevent trauma for their children.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right. So I think we are going to go ahead and come off of our live because we've been on almost an hour. And I think, well, actually 50 minutes, and I think I did a time slot for 50 minutes, but I will put up your links, and I thank you for talking with us today on our live stream. And yeah, I hope you have a
Always a
great.
pleasure, Jenny. It's always a pleasure.
Okay, so I'm going to end streams, and I can talk to you right after we're done. All right.